My grandfather was a really good card player. He used to gamble a lot. He almost gambled my dad's house away when he was younger.
So that doesn't mean he's pretty good. That means he's pretty bad.
No, but he was good at shuffling cards. He always used to show me card tricks.
Oh, okay.
And he was
just really crap at betting then. He was very good at shuffling, but very crap at betting.
Yeah, one time he lost a bunch of money at the racetrack, and he brought my dad and my uncle. He was a good grandfather. And he got so mad. He's like, "You two are finding your own way home." And he just drove away. And my uncle, because my dad's the oldest, my uncle just starts crying, and my dad's like 11, and he's hugging him. He's like, "It's okay. Everything's going to be all right."
This is going to make for the most terrible opening of this show ever.
Right?
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 56 of Podcast Reload, a general gaming podcast where we invite Sifted.net community guests from around the world onto the show to talk about video games and the games industry in all its weird ways. I am your host, the Soul Japan dweller Evan Piotrowski, and joining us today are two Sifted community guests, Keith, aka McWomble.
Oh, no one will hear the wave. That probably won't work. Hi.
That's fine. And Matt, aka berkough.
What's going on, guys?
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, as always. Actually, I don't want to do this because every time I have recurring guests on, I always ask them how many times they've been on. It doesn't even fucking matter. It's kind of a waste of space, and so is this explanation. So,
I think that I'm up to 6. This will be my 6th appearance.
To know that every time I come on, you talk about Yakuza.
Yeah, I feel. Unfortunately, I actually just played a new one of those, so we'll see how far we get. It's just, I'm either always playing it, and so it doesn't matter when you come on because I'll always have just played a game, or it's bad luck, just plain bad luck. Have you guys been on for the Video Game Vault yet?
I have.
Okay.
No.
Do you remember?
My pick was
Matt, what was your pick?
That's
I can't remember.
That's right. Okay.
Oh yeah, I do remember listening to that, and I do remember disagreeing with
fair.
you.
All right, well, let's just get into it then. This is the Podcast Reload Video Game Vault. We are making a vault fit for the most noteworthy, historically important, prestigious, or simply awesome video games of all time. If you could pick one to put in a giant video game vault to survive an earthly cataclysm in order for future generations to play and learn from, what would you choose? So, our current list stands as Skyrim, Metal Gear Solid, Fallout 2, Dark Souls, Ico, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, South Park: The Stick of Truth, The Talos Principle, The Ocarina of Time, Super Mario Odyssey, Persona 4, Final Fantasy Tactics, War of the Lions, and Life is Strange. I will throw it to Keith first. Keith, what are you putting in the video game vault?
I am putting into the video game vault the game that gripped me so much that I had to turn it off after becoming so engrossed with cutscenes. Yakuza 0.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not fucking serious. Are you kidding me?
I was excited. For a second.
I was like, oh my god, he's totally
I was like,
changed.
wow, he must have really liked that battle system.
Right, okay, because people will get this when it comes to later on when we start talking about the main topic, but the only thing I am going to put in the video game vault is the complete edition of the Mass Effect trilogy. All 3 games, all DLC.
All right, I'll
Thank
accept
you,
that
God.
if it comes on the.
Now, if only EA would actually release a package with everything included, that would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice. I guess we're going to kind of talk about this series a little bit later, right? So I don't know, is there anything you want to add as to why you're putting it in here? I mean, I think it's a good addition.
It is just a freaking amazing sci-fi trilogy. The background that BioWare went into when they released the first game just had me gripped from the point when they opened the website and said, here are the characters, here are the races, here's the universe that you're going to be exploring, and they just built on it from there. It is absolute fucking brilliant. I've read the three prequel novels by Drew Karpyshyn. I haven't read any of the others because I've heard they're fucking garbage. And I've got the Dark Horse graphic novel collection as well. So you could say I'm a minor fan.
Yeah, just a little bit, I suppose. All right, I guess we'll be talking a bit more about this, and I don't know, most people listening who know about the series, it's kind of it's a shoo-in. I agree with it as well. I never got around to the DLC that came out after 3. I know there was one that was like super critical to the story with there's Leviathan, and then like
Leviathan is all right.
What's up with the
Citadel? If you've not played Citadel, for the love of God, man, load up whatever old system you've got and play that.
I don't want to turn my PlayStation 3 on. I'm not going
It's
back.
worth it. Trust me. Is it put whatever stupid freaking Yakuza game down or Octopath bullshit, and
that is the name of the game. They changed it. It was Project Octopath Traveler, and then they went Octopath Traveler, and they're like, no, Octopath bullshit.
And play that. Honestly, it's 3 hours of your life that will be fulfilling.
All right, yeah, it's kind of like the wrap up with the crew in that, right? The send off they all deserve.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do want to get around to that DLC in all honesty, because I've heard some decent things about it. The only DLC I did play was I was gonna say the Stockbroker. That sounds fun. The Shadow Broker.
Lair of the Shadow Broker. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the only one I did.
That's the only DLC you did. Okay, it's the best and possibly one of the best pieces of DLC ever.
That was 2 though, right?
Was 2, yeah.
But
yeah,
that's 2. Yeah, and which again is getting onto the topic that we're talking about. So just kind of where the hell is the timeline on Andromeda? Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Who fucking cares? All right, Matt, what are you putting in?
Well, I already put.
That's right.
I already put one in.
He said Talos principle. He can choose to change it.
I am really curious. No, I'm not going to change it. I am curious though, why you disagree?
Because you didn't put in the Mass Effect trilogy. What the hell is wrong with you?
Oh, all right, okay. Well, you have your opportunity now. So,
in fact, what the hell was wrong with everyone? I mean, come on, Final Fantasy Tactics, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it's the War of the Lions edition and not the original.
Yeah, like I told you, I maybe I didn't. I couldn't get past like the third when I was a kid. I couldn't get past the third battle in Final Fantasy Tactics, so I never saw any of that game. And I was like, I do not like strategy games. That's when I realized I can't play them
And just for whoever put Final Fantasy Tactics in, I was being facetious just then. I don't really hate the game. I've never played it. I was just saying it for dramatic effect. I love you all, everyone everywhere. I love you all,
right,
except for people.
No, I think I've said on the podcast before, like sometimes I'll come off as being very pushy about stuff, but it comes from a background of talking trash in sports, I think. So I expect it coming the other way as well. But I think sometimes people they're just not, that's not how they talk about video games. Like, why can't you be more positive like Easy Allies? And like, yes, they're very, very nice.
And also,
but it is fun
everything
to talk trash.
isn't good all the time.
No, including Mass Effect. All right. Those are so we got one. We got the Mass Effect trilogy. That's what's the big one. It's
all right, Keith, if you had to pick one game out of the trilogy, which one would you throw in? It'd be 2.
Yeah. I think 2 for me. It would be 2, 1, 3. I put 2 in.
Can we talk about how much trash the collectors are as a boss?
Like
Like that end boss is bullshit, dude. When I got to the
it's like
very
a
end, I was
giant
like, "Are you
Terminator.
serious?
It's like a
This is what I'm
Terminator Reaver.
Well, yeah. I don't know. It felt like it wasn't. It didn't seem to fit with
Like, what
the
was their
Reapers
plan?
to
They're
me.
going to make. They're taking like human juice and making a giant human Reaver. Like, what was the point of that?
I don't know.
I don't take Evan's opinion on anything he's going to say on this podcast anymore because he said Reaver instead of Reaper.
Oh, is it Reaper? Sorry,
Reaper.
I'm gonna fuck up all these names.
So,
by the
It's
way,
Reaper.
Yeah. So let's just ignore everything Evan says.
But yeah, that's my only issue with 2. I think 2 has the best companion quests and stuff. So like all the side characters and all their stories are amazing.
Yeah, it's got the most rounded and complete story. It's the build up to the suicide mission, which isn't a suicide mission really, because how can you have 3 if 2 becomes a suicide mission? So all the build up to that was PR bullshit.
Right.
But other than that, it is the most complete game out of the 3. And I know people trash some of the DLC for 2, but I quite liked it. Some of it was quite samey. And all of this will actually make sense for anyone listening to this. And like, why are you talking about games that are so fucking old? It will make sense. We promise you, we'll get to the point at some point. It's Evan's podcast. He needs to lead us there. I'm trying to do it, but he's wearing a shark tank top / vest for people around the world. It's the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen.
Too bad it's not a video
It's very
podcast.
distracting.
Sorry, listeners.
Yeah.
All right, so let's bowl right along to what we've been playing this week. Keith, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? I've been playing Dragon's Crown Pro, which I'm really enjoying. My wife and I have been playing that together, actually. 2-player co-op, couch co-op is something that I miss quite a lot. I think it needs to come back. And I've been playing by recommendation from Podcast Reload host Evan Piotrowski. I've been playing the Amazon called Evan.
Wait, what? You lost me.
You recommended to me to play the Amazon, and so I named.
The Amazon. Sorry, I thought you were just talking about a different.
So
game.
I named the Amazon after
game.
you, in honor.
Oh, lovely. Can you name them?
Yeah, you can name them if you want.
Okay.
And my wife is playing a dwarf named Brian, and we're having really good fun playing that.
Brian the dwarf. I can't fucking speak. So you like it? You like Dragon?
Yeah, it's really good fun. It does get a bit repetitive. I mean, because you're only playing through a limited number of levels, but the art style, the combat, and the way they scale the difficulty is enough to keep you pushing through. Really enjoying the fact that it's something to play couch co-op. Something else that I've been playing quite a lot of and enjoying is Mario plus Rabbids. That is quite possibly the game on the Switch that I've enjoyed the most.
Interesting. So you recently bought your Switch, right? You bought it this year? Okay.
Yeah. And I played... what have I played? Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a bit of the Octopath Traveler demo, and Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. And this Mario plus Rabbids is the one that I'm having the most fun with.
Oh, interesting. So you like turn-based strategy games?
No, it's just it's quirky. It's just a fun game you can sit down and have 5 minutes of fun with, or you can play for a couple of hours and get really into.
Okay. How are you playing this? Is it on the TV? Or are you doing handheld mode?
I play Switch 100% handheld all the time, and the battery life on the Switch is shit.
It can be.
It's fucking awful. how can you have a system where it's plugged in and charging and the battery life goes down?
Do you turn it off? Or you
No,
put it
this
in
is while
sleep
I'm
mode?
playing it. So I've plugged in the wall, I'm playing it, it's plugged in and charging, and the battery life is actually going down.
Wait a
whilst
minute.
I'm
Are you
playing.
using an officially licensed charger?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I am. Yeah.
Okay. No,
So-
then it should go up,
That's
or at least
weird.
stay the
I'll-
same. I don't
I'll
know.
have to.
Yeah.
That is not
I don't know
that
what
is
the
not
fuck
a
is going on
charger.
Yeah, it should stay the same at least. That's weird. I'll have to try that. I haven't tried that yet.
But I think it's just the thing is because I'm playing handheld the whole time. Is I don't know what thing they've got running in the background in terms of battery usage. Anyway, that's bollocks. And the last thing that I've been playing is Warframe.
Is that's free to play, isn't it? Okay.
Yes. It's my first foray into free to play, and again, I'm really enjoying it. Whilst there is that you can smell the grind off it. Oh my god, it's bad. But it's not something that you feel like that you're getting punished for.
Okay.
So
I guess that's the point.
you can get level upgrades pretty quickly, but if you want to get gear and warframes, so new weapons, new warframes, that takes a fuckload of time and effort to gain. And I realised that I'm swearing so much already. No, this is a wholesome family podcast. But I know you, Evan. I mentioned this to you, and you said I don't want anything to do with online free to play. But you can switch the whole game to solo. You can play the entire thing.
But like, what do you is there a beginning and an end to the game?
Yeah, there's a proper story through the whole thing,
Okay,
and there's
then-
2 expansion modes that they brought in. I just don't think it's going to hold my attention when Divinity Original Sin 2 and Spider-Man comes out. It's for the lull in video games that's going on at the moment. It's holding my attention, but when
That's good.
other bigger things come out, it's not going to hold it.
The dog days of summer. Did you pre-order your fucking super hideous PS4 Spider-Man special edition? I think.
I've already got my PS4 Pro, my Oreo sandwich, same as you.
Yeah, it's delicious. Doesn't need anything on it. I've never seen a good limited edition.
No, they're all horrible.
PlayStation.
The controller is pretty sweet
fucking
though.
hideous. Yeah, like controllers, you can get away with more color schemes and like just it's being loud. When you put something on your in your entertainment center, it's just like a bright fucking red PlayStation 4 with the Spider-Man logo on it. It's like, okay,
Even the God of War one, the grey with the
it was just too much.
bit.
Yeah.
Just, no.
I saw that up close
Yeah.
and personal at the local video game store here. So someone didn't like it. It was like right after the game came out. It's like, did they play God of War on this limited edition PlayStation 4 and then just sell it back? I don't know. But yeah, it's just a bit too much going on. I like when you're referencing a video game in some way, but in a more subtle way. It just doesn't, there's no subtlety to any of those.
Before we
special
move
editions.
on,
Wait a minute. Is this going to get awkward? Matt, did you pre-order that PS4? Okay.
No, I didn't. I don't get into any of those special editions for consoles at all.
Agreed.
I never have. Even when I was a kid, I
Yeah.
thought they were stupid.
I think it's a unanimous for
The,
mine.
the only cool one I've seen is the PlayStation 1 colored. The PlayStation
Yeah, but that
1
wasn't
colored
just limited
scheme,
edition.
like
That was kind of
PlayStation
like
4.
ultra limited edition. We've only made a few of these.
Yeah, it's not slightly different. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's a
I think one
yeah.
of the coolest things about the Pro is
Yeah.
the little feet, the rubber feet on the 4 corners. They're each of the whatever the cross.
PlayStation
Yeah, the
controller
symbols, yeah,
symbols.
I thought that's a nice
The
touch,
symbols,
even though you'll never
yeah.
see them. Yeah, the sacred
The
symbols.
sacred symbols, if you ask.
Before we
Colin
move
Moriarty.
on, just a quick fuck you about Madden 18, because I saw that on sale and it's bollocks.
Mm.
It
You did
is
not like the the
long shot mode.
story
Oh my
mode.
god, that is terrible. I couldn't even bring myself to finishing the fucking thing. It is so bad. It is so badly voice acted.
It's like
The animation's awful. You can see that they put all of their effort into exactly the same bollocks that all the Madden fans want, and this was just a tack on thing to try and get some more numpties into buying, and then say, hey, here's a load of adverts for Madden cards and Madden Ultimate Team. It's
Right.
the entire, all the loading screens are an advert for Madden Ultimate Team or Madden 19. And I just can't bring myself to do it. So I played about 2 hours of it, and then I just deleted it because it was just, and it wasn't a game. It was an advert with a game attached.
I have one question. So you had released I think probably a screenshot on Twitter. It's during story mode. It's the two main characters sitting in the back of a truck after like a college football game,
bottles of,
and it looks like they're drinking like Pepto-Bismol or something. Like what are
horrible.
they drinking? It's like this
horrible.
this opaque pink liquid.
Next Pepto-Bismol.
I know that
It's
athletes
awful.
often take ice baths after
it was
games. I didn't know
absolutely
they
awful.
just down
I'm glad I
full
only
bottles
paid,
of
I think it was
fucking
$9.99 for it.
Pepto-Bismol. But yeah, those really weird.
And I'm going back to my amnesty of Madden from this point onwards.
All right, yeah.
I'm terribly sorry to kind of pass over to Matt on a downer, but I used to love Madden, but fuck it.
Oh, you gave it a try.
No, well, I was curious. Are you guys Madden fans from back in the day, from like the SNES, Genesis, and early PlayStation ones?
N64, I remember that.
Because
they didn't have the license.
N64.
So they just like color coded the teams and like called it a day.
Yeah, when it was arcade style, it was actually fun.
So I had Madden 97 back in the day, and I'm actually, if I ever run across a used copy in any of the retro stores out here, cool. I will buy it and stream it. I'll play that. There,
just as long as you're drunk.
Well, yeah, of course I'm gonna have to be trashed when I play it, but there's a scene. So like if you play the Pro Bowl, right? The Pro Bowl in '96, I guess, took place in Hawaii, I think.
They always took place in Hawaii until they moved it recently.
Okay. So there's a story that Madden, they actually recorded Madden telling this story, and he's like, so we're taking the train, and then we get on the bus, and then make a right turn, and boom, straight into the ocean. I've never been able to find a clip of that audio anywhere, and I have to get the game just so that I can put that on YouTube.
Yeah, Madden was notorious. Like he hated flying. He took a bus everywhere. So
right.
I don't know how he felt about the bus going straight in the ocean. I mean, eventually, right? It's gonna go back up into the islands of Hawaii, right? That bus.
Right. No, but yeah, it's hilarious, and I just have like this very distinct memory of that moment in that game.
Right. Yeah. It's like someone had released it was like a super cut of it was either like video game scenes in video games, and it was like you can picture without any sound, you can picture the exact sound effects that are happening at this moment type of thing.
Okay.
Maybe that's it for you. It's like you just have this vivid memory of that line. You know, it's like the old EA Sports, it's in the game, you know, all those types of things.
Yeah, and that was one of the games that has that at the very beginning. EA Sports. It's in the game.
I think...
I missed the cameos. The cameos were really good from the players at the Pro Bowl.
Oh, sure.
James Harrison, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, I'll every now and then I'll always say, or at the end of every now and then I'll always say, you like that? I teach English, by the way. That at the end of the podcast. No. Well, it's more about.
Yes, can I just butt in? My two favorite Madden games were 2001 and 2008.
Okay. I think
because
go ahead.
One had Eddie George on the cover, and the other had Vince Young.
Oh, that makes total sense then.
All the rest were garbage.
Yep. Titans. I like NFL Quarterback Club. Why do you think so?
Or NFL Blitz.
Yeah. But the reason at the end of the episodes I'll say, I'm the stand user on Twitter is because during games when they show like the defensive lineup, they often have like in the lower
Ohio State University
left or right hand corner. Yeah, they always say the Ohio State University. It's like I guess you have to say the because it's followed by a vowel, but they put so much comical emphasis on it. It's like, just put your dick away. Like, it's fine. Like, you love the university that you played for. Like, just tone it down a little bit. You don't have to say that. So that's why at the end of an episode I'll say the stand user. But anyways,
the Saskatchewan Second Grade College.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
That's probably is the thing. I don't even know. I know Saskatchewan's a place, so I just chose it. It sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Anyway, Matt, Matt, please start talking.
Oh, okay. Sorry. ESPN NFL 2K5 is my favorite game, and that was the last year that they, EA Sports solely didn't have the license, and I think they saw how that game was so good. Madden, compared to Madden 2005, they're like, we need this to buy this license. We need to get this license because the NFL 2K games are getting too good. We'll get
EA bullshit
and then
in a little while.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Okay, Matt.
There's the theme.
What have you been playing?
I've been playing Skyrim on Switch, Octopath Traveler, and I did have Mass Effect Andromeda on the list, but since we'll get to that later, I will replace it with Subsurface Circular.
Okay. Which two do you want to talk about the most?
I've heard of two of those games.
Okay, so if you guys haven't played Subsurface Circular, it's like a 3-hour game. It's a game by Mike Bithell.
Oh yeah, Thomas was alone.
Thomas was alone. Yeah. It's really good. It's kind of just like a visual novel almost.
Oh, this just came out, didn't it? Isn't this his newest game?
Yeah, it came out not too long ago. It's like $6 on the Switch store. Probably some of the most creative use of the HD rumble that I've ever had experienced. Yeah, it's really good speculative fiction though. Like the way that it's written and like this greater world that takes place outside of what you're actually experiencing in the game. Totally worth 3 hours of your time.
Oh, cool.
And $6. Yeah. And then, Octopath Traveler. We can talk about that.
Yeah, I am going to spare you, Keith. I have played the Yakuza side game called Ryuga Gotoku Isshin.
Oh, that one. I've heard that's really good.
It's basically it's called the name. Well, it never got released in the States, but what it probably would be called is Yakuza Isshin, and Isshin means restoration because it's referring to the Meiji Restoration after Commodore Perry came and told the Tokugawa shogunate, like, Japan needs to open its borders to trade and commerce, and then they started bringing like guns and cannons and all this stuff from the West, and then power transferred from the Tokugawa shogunate.
Weren't we talking about the games that Matt was playing, and then somehow we've just ended up with you talking about Yakuza? I know it's your show, but I just don't. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, so I've been playing that game, but I'm going to spare the conversation about that game. I really, really like it, but it's not that interesting because no one really knows about that part in Japanese history. So let's just kind of put together our thoughts on Octopath Traveler because I've been playing it as well. So we'll just kind of do what we've been playing at this point.
Do you mind if I just go through very quickly? Because I literally played about 45 minutes of the demo, and I just thought,
before our thoughts on it?
I know I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, what are you...
I know I'm going to buy it.
Do you know you're going to buy it?
At the moment, because I've got other stuff going on, but I know I'm going to get it. So you guys just go for it.
Okay, cool. So Matt, what do you... How far into it are you, and what do you think?
I'm still on all the chapter 1s for all the characters, so I'm still going through and collecting. But I started off with Alphen the Apothecary and played through his initial story, and then I went up and got Theron the Thief. And I started his story, and I was like, no, I don't really want to play with these characters. So then I started a new game, and I started with Cyrus the Scholar, and then I'm doing Ophelia the Cleric's quest right now. But I've obviously played through Primrose's intro. I've played through Ulbrich's
from the original demo, right?
So so I'll probably, once I pick up Ophelia, I'm going to swing back down the other way and go through and do Tressa the Merchant, because I haven't experienced her story yet.
I just got done with hers.
A couple of the others. So yeah, so I haven't hit the point where like the grind happens, but I'm keeping that in mind based on the reviews. So I'm trying to level up the characters as I go and not have to spend as much time later on in the game. So I'm trying to spread out the grind.
Can I just throw something in there? Why would you not want to play as Hanit? Who wouldn't want to control wild beasts?
That's who I started with.
Yes.
Yes.
I approve of your choice, Matt.
All right.
For everyone listening, I'm shaking my head at Matt right now.
Yeah. So
wasn't the most appealing character to me. I mean, obviously, I'll pick her up and I'll go through her story.
There might be a point. I think there's an interesting point to maybe why you didn't pick her is because it seems more of like a story that we've heard in JRPGs. It's like, oh, she's like a warrior type that controls animals. You're like, or you can be like a merchant or a scholar. It's like, I've never been that character in a JRPG before. Let's see where this story's going. It's not just your average warrior on a quest for, insert plot point here type of thing. Like, I think that's an interesting part of like this group of 8 people is a lot of them aren't warriors. Their stories are like, what was the scholar? What's his name? Cyrus. It's like
Cyrus,
a very important tome from whatever the school that he teaches at has been stolen, so he's just looking for this book. It's like, oh, it doesn't have to be about saving the world. Not everyone is the chosen ones that are going to band together to defeat the ultimate evil. He's just looking for a book that was stolen. Like, I like smaller stories like that, or at least initially, right?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is, like, I've read all the reviews. Well, I say all the reviews. I don't know how many people have actually reviewed the game, but I read Jason Schreier's review. I read Nadia Oxford's review on Eurogamer or US Gamer. I've read the Game Informer review. Everybody's talking about like how crappy the writing is, but I really actually like the writing, specifically for what you were just pointing out. Like these stories are very personal to the characters, and yeah, there might not be much connectivity between all the characters, and like their stories weaving together later on. I don't know.
No,
it doesn't really bother me that much
at all.
I'm looking forward to just doing their individual stories, and I actually think the writing is actually it's really good, because it's on a more adult level than I've ever experienced in a JRPG before.
Yeah, like Primrose's story is pretty pretty heavy there in the beginning.
Well, yeah, and no spoilers, because I mean this is chapter 1, but even in Cyrus's story, he has this thing that goes on with his students, and one of the students, she's jealous of the way that he is towards another female student, which kind of leads to him getting kicked out of the university and going on his quest to recover this book. It's like
like that premise is good enough. Like, I think that's neat. I'm about like 12 hours in. I have about 7. No, I think I have 6 of the characters. I'm doing Cyrus's story now. So I started with Hanit or Hanit, whatever her name is, and I went counterclockwise around the map. And then I'm coming back up to where you started, actually, Matt. And so I've played.
That's funny.
I've played a lot of it, and I really, really like it. I did a couple side quests. I did a bit of grinding. I like going into towns and switching out my people so I can use their special abilities or whatever they're called, like to inquire about someone, so you learn like hidden information, and then you can use that to do side quests or challenging people in front of a door. that they're blocking the doorway so you can get into the door and get a chest and
So you
stuff.
can
Like
get into the door,
I
yeah.
like all that stuff, and I haven't played a RPG that's in the style of the old school like 16-bit RPGs, and I'm saying in terms of like story structure and just the grind and even the aesthetic. I haven't played a game like this in so long. It's actually just really nice to play a game like this. Just like
Well, I think it's interesting too. The way that they did it is very different from like, so like there's a lot of criticism about how the stories don't really connect, and there's a sort of a dissonance between like when a character meets another character, and then all of a sudden you're just doing that other character's story, and there's no like conversation or dialogue between
I
those
think
characters.
Matt on Game Face, this most recent Game Face, he said that was like the biggest part of that was his biggest issue with the game. I think, right?
Right, but think about what they're trying to do and what they have done. They've essentially made an open world Final Fantasy VI. Like if you could go through and just pick up the characters whenever you wanted, that's kind of what the way that they have developed this game and approached it. And no, I don't think there's any other game that's quite like that. Even Suikoden 2, where you have like hundreds of characters that you can pick up. None of them really have like significant stories behind them.
Right. There is a bit of
The
dialogue, but they just kind of get absorbed into the party.
the
Sorry to butt in, but I've dabbled very lightly with JRPGs and mainly found the writing to be hugely contrived and to the point of being annoying. And
Yeah, it depends, hit or
yeah,
miss.
no,
and I'm actually really looking forward to this. After a few minutes that I've played, less than an hour, I was just like, yeah, I can see me really getting into this. And the way that people who I've heard speak about it or write about it and hear you two guys talking about it, I just know that I'm going to have fun with it.
that's kind of the way that I look at it. Like I'm just trying to have some fun with it and escape. I'm the type of person that will sit down and read a fantasy novel at the end of the night. This is
How are you finding? Sorry to kind of skip you on. But how are you finding Skyrim on Switch? Because I gave up on Skyrim on PS4.
I like it, but then again, I dumped probably 120 hours into it when it first came out.
Ouch.
So I'm curious to see if I encounter any of the same type of bugs, because like I had one character that I'd spent around 80 hours on, and I couldn't find an early enough save to escape the bug that I hit. And basically every time my character touched water, the game would freeze. So, I mean, at this point, like I don't really.
Because the thing for me is, for someone like you, it's obvious, who I know played it on a different system. Are you playing it traveling? Are you playing it handheld? Are you playing it docked? And
handheld, like 80 to 90% of the time that I play my Switch is handheld.
So you're similar to me in how you use the Switch, because I use mine 100% handheld.
Yeah, it's the system that I will, sit in bed at night with, or if my wife's on the TV, if she's playing something else on the PS4 or she's watching something else, I'm playing it handheld, just so we can be in the same room,
Yeah, that's exactly the same as my wife and I.
So, I don't mind it. I've gotten used to the Joy-Cons, and Skyrim's not that intensive that you need super precision anyway. Like once you hit a certain level, you're taking out all the enemies pretty easy anyway. And I'm playing Skyrim. I always sneak with a bow, so I'm always taking out enemies like before they even see me.
So none of the kind of graphical
downgrades
that they've had to make to get it onto the Switch are really that evident, or are they evident? And you can just ignore it.
I haven't played it on PS4. I haven't played it on
Okay.
PS4, and I think that it looks better than it does on the PS3. So it looks better on the Switch than it did when I played it the
This
last
might be
time.
the only case where I will allow
It is your show. You can allow what you want.
I think it's okay to play this game in handheld mode. I think it's okay to play this game in handheld mode because you've played it on the big screen. So probably how many hours have you played on a TV? It's actually kind of novel to be like, wow, I'm playing the Switch. That's the Switch. I'm playing Skyrim on this really small screen in handheld mode. This is kind of cool. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things that like the Steam Boy or the I can't remember what the hell else it was called. They had this project that they were doing where it was essentially a handheld computer with the Steam controller
Okay.
split in half and on either side. And it never came to fruition. But that was one of the things that I was thinking about was like Skyrim. That would be awesome to play on the go or in a handheld. And
And now you can.
here it is on the Switch. That's yeah, exactly. So anyway, I think we should get into the
Yes.
major discussion where it's going to be very heated and back and
Because
forth.
if I don't get to bed by 1 a.m.,
All right.
my wife is going to kill me.
So
Yes.
let's jump
So let's do
into our main single topic of the show. Mass Defect / Trash Effect / the Mass Effect Andromeda dissection evisceration. Take your pick. We're going to be talking about Mass Effect Andromeda. This kind of came about because I had recently played the game and was kind of throwing my thoughts out there on sifted.net. And then both Matt and Keith were massive Effect fans. We started
that
kind of
was
talking about
wonderful.
like, well, what do you hate about it? And so we just got in this giant conversation about the Mass Effect trilogy and how it stacks up to Andromeda and the good and the bad. And then we just kind of got to the point I'm like, hey, let's get on a podcast and iron all this stuff out. And so that's how this whole thing came about. You're like, that game came out fucking like a year ago, but I had just played it. We got into this conversation on Sifted and we decided to do a podcast about it. So yes, we're going to be talking everything and anything about the Mass Effect trilogy and more specifically Andromeda. But I don't know, Keith, Matt, where do you guys want to start this one?
Can I jump in quickly and just kind of get a quick feel for where the three of us are on the game before we get into discussion? So I'm it's okay as far as I'm concerned. It's not good. It's okay on the IGN scale. It should be sitting around a 7, which I think it is. On the sifted scale, it would probably be sitting around something like a 4.5, 5.5. In terms of relation to how long I played the game, I put around about 80 hours into Andromeda, compared to about 600 into the first 3 games. I played through Mass Effect 1 twice in full, doing all the side quests, all the DLC. I played Mass Effect 2 3 times, again doing everything, and I played Mass Effect 3 times, doing absolutely everything. I played through Mass Effect Andromeda once, to give you a kind of feel about where I am.
Okay.
What about you guys?
Matt, so how about yourself coming into this?
So okay. I have not finished Andromeda
you doing
yet.
on the podcast?
Yeah, you're not qualified to review a game unless you complete it.
We could have had Cartoon Tom on.
Yeah.
So, but I have played the original trilogy all the way through at least 3 times. So I am a big Mass Effect fan. I'm sort of lukewarm on Andromeda, and I sort of the things that I like about the game, what they did do good, is what I get wrapped up with, and is part of the reason I have never actually made it to the end, because I'm so caught up in like the interpersonal stories that are happening on the arcs and the Nexus that stuff is always more interesting to me because it's the most like the original
Dude,
trilogy.
I totally forgot the fucking Nexus existed. Like 20 hours in, I'm like, oh, that ship I started on. I got to go back there. Like I completely forgot about that ship.
Yeah, and it changes and evolves as you get through
But
the
they
game
never
too.
they never give you a reason to go back. That was one thing. It's like some people are going to forget like where you started. Like do a main mission where you have to go back to the Nexus several times. I totally forgot about that ship.
We're skipping forward. Evan, how do you feel about the game?
All right, well, so just the Mass Effect trilogy in general. I started with 2 because I never owned an Xbox, and so I went in, absolutely loved it, and then I played 3 and carried my save over, and then I played 1, the last, which is kind of a weird way to do it, but I felt fine.
No, it's not for you.
But I felt
you played Uncharted that way. Didn't you play Yakuza that way?
I started with 4. Yakuza, yeah. I knew nothing about those characters, yeah. Well, Uncharted, I started with 2, 3, 4, 1, yeah. And I've only played each of the games once. I don't like going back to games and replaying them. Like usually when I'm done, I move on. But the games are great. Like I still remember a lot about it. 2 especially. So going into this game, I wasn't expecting a lot because I just heard so many negative things about it. But it was $7 on a PlayStation PSN sale, and I went from the first 10 hours of this game are terrible to okay, I'm kind of into the groove of what you're supposed to be doing here. Go to the planet, fill out some side quests, make the air breathable. Give these people air. What are you doing? Give these people air. And and then I went from getting in the groove and saying, you know what, this game is mediocre. And then after I beat it, I started thinking about what this game could have been, and I think the game is absolute trash. So I went from not liking it to thinking it's okay to actually like doubling back and think like I think this game was like a huge missed opportunity, and all the things that I thought I liked, I actually don't.
Because
what's that?
It's your trash opinion because you're disappointed that it is a missed opportunity rather than what you actually played was trash.
No, I think I was just tricked into like because so
if anyone should feel
well,
tricked into buying this, that'd be me because I was a fuckwit that pre-ordered the not the ultimate friggin' edition, whatever the deluxe edition is the one that I got.
Okay.
The one? Did you get the one with the Tempest?
Yeah, the Tempest. No, I didn't get that one.
It didn't have the Tempest.
I got the digital deluxe edition that got me a pet hijack, which you couldn't even touch. And I used to massacre those things in Mass Effect 1.
I think it would have been funny if like you buy the one that came with a little remote control Tempest, and it controls just as fucking terrible as it does in the actual game. It like doesn't respond. It like slides around like you're on fucking ice.
Or whatever real life thing you're driving over, the textures pop in just as you get.
Yeah. Or
yeah.
Well, that's that. All right, that's the Nomad. That's not the Tempest.
Yeah, no.
There's the special edition with the Tempest, which is the ship.
Quid on that.
Oh,
and then
I thought. Yeah, I meant the Nomad. Sorry, I thought it only came with a remote control Nomad.
No, there was a few different editions that they released globally.
Oh, okay.
There's so the limited edition with the Tempest model. I can go down to Best Buy down the street from my house right now and pick it up.
Oh, they still have it. Interesting.
They still have it.
Still sitting there.
Yep.
Yeah, like a collectible in Ryder's room, just sitting on the desk. That was a good reference, right?
Yeah, that was great. Well done. Loved it.
All right, so how do we want to tackle this? So we've laid out how we feel about the game and our experience with the series. Do you guys want to get out the good stuff first and then move in? Because
Well,
I have a lot of reasons
I'm
why
curious.
I think the game is trash because of the stuff they didn't do, but we could possibly save that.
No, we could save that. But like I said to you guys when we were talking about this, or we were in our kind of instant message discussion. Every time I think of something good about this game, I say "but" immediately afterwards,
Sure.
and I think that's where this game ultimately falls down. Oh, do you remember the time when this happened? But straight away
But,
afterwards, you went back
yeah.
into doing this, and I'll start talking specifics in a bit, but I don't know where you guys want to start off, but do you,
So I bought the game on sale. I didn't buy it on launch. Keith, you bought it straight out of the gate. You pre-ordered it. So did you experience any of the weird glitches that were floating around the internet pre-review period?
Absolutely none. And I think that's because I'm not part of the EA Access scheme. And it's one of the reasons why I said EA. Last time I was on the show, I said to Evan, EA screwed the pooch on this one. And they've been doing it with their EA Access scheme. If you release something bad on EA Access,
right,
there are enough people out there who are going to absolutely slate you online that it's going to tarnish the reputation of the game when it comes to the actual launch.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And I think a big part of that, the poor performance in terms of sales. Let's clear something up quickly. Mass Effect Andromeda made money. Friend of Sifted.net, Michael Pachter, said that Mass Effect Andromeda probably made somewhere around $100 million in its launch window, whatever that means. And then other people have said since launch it's probably made somewhere between 200 and something to $300 million. So it's made its money back and it's made money. It's just, it wasn't a out the park massive effect hit.
I love all these puns.
Yeah, this is going to be the punisode. So when it came to me playing it, they'd already patched quite a lot of the bugs out. Quite a lot of the most heinous ones that people had memed anyway, though it was still a very, very buggy game. I remember, for Evan, you said the first 10 hours are garbage. The first 10 hours for me were buggy. Oh, Jesus, they were buggy. I remember having conversations with NPCs and suddenly they'd be talking, you'd be talking to an NPC and there'd be another NPC in the background doing something like pretending to be at a console, doing inputs, and then suddenly the person would just float down to the other end of the screen. So there are quite a lot of things like that. It is a buggy game. I had missions that wouldn't initiate. I had missions that wouldn't complete. So,
see, those are the bugs I'm worried about. Like some of the sillier stuff where like weird shit happens, like someone's typing on a console that doesn't exist, or I've had a side mission where I'm talking to someone and they're like just walking in place the entire time I'm talking to them. I don't really care about that. I don't really care about that stuff. You can kind of laugh at it. That doesn't ruin my experience with games really, but the stuff that you're talking about, like, not being able to finish a side mission because of a bug, like when it gets in the way of the game, that's when I start getting frustrated at buggy
and the
games.
amount of clipping in the game is just horrendous.
Oh, it is really bad. Like most of the enemies, if you're in the Nomad and you want, like the first time I saw a bug, like this giant bug creature, I'm like, all right, I pedal to the metal, and I just drove straight through it. I was like, what? There's no hit detection? Like it happens sometimes. I completely clipped through it.
It does happen sometimes, yeah.
I had one where I drove into a random. We're getting into kind of story realms now, but I drove into a random raider in the Nomad, and the Nomad did a flip. So almost as if the physics of the game thought that this one random NPC with a rifle was a hard object, and so I slammed into it, and the Nomad just flew up into the air.
Do you guys build your own characters? Do you like do the facial
Fuck
modeling
no.
and all that stuff?
I was handsome model, male shepherd in the original trilogy, and I'm about to take a shit. Sarah Ryder in this one. She has that constant look in her face.
One of the things as well is that if you do go through the sliders on this game, unlike the original trilogy, you can see where the effort's been put in. The effort's been put into the base model.
Yeah, I tried to make a character, and I played with him for maybe 10 hours, and my wife was like, "What is wrong with your character's face?" And so you can I forget who you have to talk to on your ship, but you can redo your face in the middle of the game.
Oh, you can.
Lexi?
That was
Yeah.
smart of them. It makes no sense, but it was smart of them to do that.
Yeah, right. It's Lexi the medic, and so or it's in her med bay. There's a console or something you can access, and so I switched it back to the default writer, and my wife was like, "That looks so much better. Like you don't look like you're, this crazy ghoulish figure anymore."
Well, like unless you're really good and you take like hours to make a character.
I do.
Really?
Though.
And it just didn't work. I've
No,
seen some
I
decent
thought it looked,
models.
I thought it looked decent, but
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, I usually go default. It
Can
doesn't
I
really bother me if
so
it doesn't
kind of
look
moving
like
forward?
me or whatever.
Just a question.
Like, I'd rather play as someone else.
What the fuck are they doing there in the first place? You never find out. I went through every single option that I could figure out.
No, you don't.
As to all the backstory. I did all of the side missions that I could possibly figure out. There's the bit where you go into your dad's Pathfinder room and you unlock his audio journals. They tell you fuck all about why you're there.
Right.
I never even went back to that console,
slightest of hint,
so I don't even know what he says.
And the even slightest of nods to the original trilogy, whereas coming back to what I was saying before about what's the timeline, where you hear an audio recording, it doesn't explain it at all. If you go, it's
funny.
Sorry, spoilers, Matt.
It's funny that you mention it because I guess I've never actually run across a codec entry or anything that actually does explain why you're there. I just always assumed that it was because of the Reaper threat from 1.
Yeah. Sorry, Evan, you're going to have to record a new intro saying if anyone who hasn't or wants to play Mass Effect Andromeda.
Can we just get that out of the way?
Not.
Like whoever's listening, like we're gonna potentially spoil.
Yeah, this game's
like everything, everything about it. So,
not that anyone is really going to care. But the thing for me is I went through all of those journal entries and you get one nod to the original trilogy, which is an audio recording from Liara, who's not the Shallow Broker. So it's before her, and this is where the timeline gets really funny for me. In between 1 and 2?
In between 1 and 2.
It must be because she's talking to the Pathfinder as if she's not the Shadow Broker. And that's the only nod to the original, but there's no real explanation for why you're going.
So I guess it would have been in between 1 and 2, but technically far after 3.
Yeah.
Because by the time they actually get to Andromeda.
Yeah, but it would have been more interesting if they'd done something like, if it was between 1 and 2, it was almost as if a splinter group of whomsoever actually believed Shepard, because the premise was at the end of 1, no one actually believed Shepard. That was the big thing. 2 was the real revelation.
Right.
Oh shit, Shepard was right.
I would argue that they didn't really know until the beginning of 3, because when the Reapers attacked, then it was like, oh shit, he was right.
What would have been more interesting, and getting into the realms of what Evan wanted to get to earlier on, it's like what could have made the game a bit more interesting for people is actually there was someone out there who could have been mysterious. It could have been the elusive man. It could have been whomsoever, saying we need to basically rescue the Milky Way. How do we do that? Well, we launch these arcs to an entirely new galaxy to protect against the Reaper threat. But instead, it was this convoluted, badly framed mystery
Right.
that was never explained.
Well, can we also get into how it's possible to do faster than light travel without the Mass Effect relays?
Sure. Go ahead. Get into it.
Well, no, I'm just curious because I think I found like one journal entry talking about the type of drive that's in the engines of the Tempest.
The hyperlight drives, they're called.
Right, but like there's no real explanation as to like if this does take place or the mission, to Andromeda took place in between 1 and 2. Why are they still using the Mass Effect relays in 2 and 3 then?
Yeah.
Well, it's like someone put it down on paper and didn't fucking think it through.
Yeah, and if you're talking about lore, and there's one thing that I do like about the games is the change up in the combat. There's okay, caveat myself.
The combat is the best in the series.
Sorry, I'm going to caveat myself. And if people could see this, I look like I've got my hands like a face hug around my face at the moment, and because I'm trying to control my own emotions. The thing that I miss the most in this game is the power wheel. The power wheel in 1, 2, and 3 was quite possibly one of the most useful things in that game, and you lose that in those games, and you lose that in Andromeda. If you've got a really powerful enemy and you want to focus all of your attacks on it, you've just got to luck out that the
From
AI
all the characters
wants to do that, rather than actually telling your squad mates to actually attack this person.
You can put your reticle over a single enemy and press like left right
them
quick, and then they'll attack. They'll focus on that single enemy, but it's never explained.
Really
it is never explained. The only thing, and I remember this too, that the only thing they tell you is where you can post people up. So you can like put your reticle over like a chest high wall and hit left or right, and either one of your squad mates will go to that point. That is the only thing during the tutorial where they tell you can do things with your squad mates. So I remember playing this. I'm like, I used to be able to like direct my squad mates to like use their special powers in battle. Like they totally took that out of the game. And then later in the game, I just happened to like hit left when my reticle was over a guy, and then all of a sudden like Phoebe or whatever her name is used like her biotic.
PB.
Is it
PWBW? What the fuck are you doing on this podcast?
Yeah,
sure.
Well, yeah, peanut butter and jelly. She was able to use her biotic powers. I'm like, oh, they did put this in here. Like, why didn't they explain it?
The combat is better than the others. It's more fluid.
I kind of think it's the same. Like everyone's saying it's better. I don't. Comparing it to 3, I don't know what's better. Like it's been a long time since I played 3, but it seems similar to me.
No, because 3 had like 10 actions all bound to the one button.
Oh, instead of triggers.
And it's very much a cover based.
Yeah,
it's very much a cover based shooter as well. So this is if you want to get out in the open and.
It's a lot easier to. It's a lot.
See, I've always played soldier, and a soldier's best bet is to sit behind cover and just shoot everyone from afar. Like I used sniper rifles this entire game, and when my squad mates' AI was decent enough, they'd actually fucking kill like 1 or 2 people, and get out in front and possibly like get in close with biotic powers or whatever.
How deeply did each of you get into customizing your characters in each of the other Mass Effect games in terms of like the
I was
class
straight soldier the entire time. Very, very boring. All these powers at my hand, like biotics and stuff, and I just never used it because I maybe to the detriment of the game. Like I still enjoyed my time, but I played this exactly like even though I had the opportunity to use interesting powers, I just used whatever, like concussion blast,
Concussion blast, yeah.
incineration bullets, or whatever
Concussion
they're called.
shot.
Three playthroughs, 3 different build outs.
Okay, so you've experimented.
So when it came to this game, and they said, "Oh, you can have one character and 3 different build outs all within one character," I went, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Because I can understand, to a certain degree, how you could do that for, say, so if you pick an initial class, so if you picked a engineer class as your initial class, you could then move into soldier, or if you pick soldier, you could move into engineer. If you pick biotic or adept as your initial class, you shouldn't be able to move into those other categories. You might be able to move into one, but not both, because, or if you picked one of the base categories as being a non-biotic one, I'm going to fucking geek out here badly. If you look at the lore of the Mass Effect universe, biotics are people who have been affected by element 0 from birth or pre-birth. What this game basically says is you can choose to be them from whatever point you want. Go for it. Fill your boots.
Right.
Because the equivalent of that would be, I don't know, walking up to a medbot in Star Wars and saying, "I want to be a Jedi now."
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's kind of all right. So like, one of the things that's happened with the Elder Scrolls series over the years is the mainstreaming of it, and they've gotten rid of the classes as the games have progressed, right? So like in Morrowind, if you selected a class, that's the class you fucking played as for that game. You didn't have a choice, and that was why I was curious. I mean, I know, Evan, you just play as a soldier, but that was why I was curious, Keith, to see like what kind of class you play as, because that was one of the things that I enjoyed. I think my first playthrough, I was an infiltrator. The original trilogy. My first playthrough was an infiltrator, and then I think I played another playthrough as either a sentinel or what's the other adept mix class? Vanguard.
Vanguard, yeah.
Right. It was either Vanguard or Sentinel. Like another playthrough that I did. But yeah, the one thing that I think that they kind of fuck up with Andromeda in terms of the classes is you can just pick whatever skills you want. And it's nice to be able to respec your character, but it does kind of fuck with the lore in a way.
It does. It absolutely does, and it drew me out of the universe. And if you're building on a franchise, you can't have something that pulls back from the universe that you've already designed. I can understand why they thought, "Oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool if you just wanted to just kind of use force powers, biotic powers over here?" So no, that doesn't fucking work. I played it for 80 hours, and you guys have just pulled me back into a pit of mediocreness, and I hate you. I hate you both for it.
Because I play the game just so like the simplest version of just like soldier. I never really even had a problem with like all that stuff. I'm like, no, I'm just going to be a soldier and plug all my shit into being a soldier. So that part of it I was actually fine with. The only thing I wasn't fine with in terms of the combat, like it's serviceable, but like the auto cover system sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Because you're never sure if you're in cover or if you're able to be hit or to be shot. I didn't like it. And the other thing is like, why is there a dedicated button for taking your guns out or putting them away?
Awful.
I was like, just make it automatic. Like, if I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna fucking fight. I'm not gonna stand there like an idiot. What point in that game is it necessary?
Sorry, you're not standing around like an idiot. You're jogging like an idiot. until you realize that you're actually getting shot and you have to jog back behind cover, pull your gun out, then get into cover, and then get ready to have a fight.
Like
Right.
shit, even a game like The Witcher 3, because in The Witcher 3 you have two swords. One sword is used for monsters and the other sword is used for humans. Now there is an option that you can manually take out your swords. It's like left trigger for one of the or left button. It's a D-pad, yeah. Left on the D-pad for one sword, right
It
on
is
the
a
D-pad for the
D-pad,
other.
isn't it?
But at least in the options menu you can change it from manual to automatic. Why would you do it manually? But at least they give you the option for doing that. Not only that, I can't fucking believe that number one, it takes 2 button presses to get into the map in a game where you are constantly trying to figure out where the fuck you are on these new planets that you're mapping. Like you're essentially mapping a planet, right? 2 button presses. Not only that, it's the option button, which is the worst button on a controller in the history of controllers. That button barely fucking works. It's too small. It's not raised enough outside of the controller. I'm constantly fumbling. You know what would have been nice if I could push down the giant fucking touchpad and access my map. You know what the touchpad does? It puts your guns away. That's all it does. It's like, are you out of your fucking minds? Like, you could play this game for 5 minutes and you're like, they couldn't do anything right, because if they dedicate the touchpad to putting your guns away, all bets are off. Everything in this game's fucked. So like, it's just one of those things where like I don't understand why they did that.
In terms of planetary exploration, one thing that I think they let themselves down on as well is building on what happens with the first planet on Eos. So you get to choose on the first planet, do you put down a military base or a science base?
And they never go back to that, do they?
But then,
Right.
and there's some fallout from that. But then you go to the next planet, and there's nothing. And I thought they were going to follow through with that mechanic. So I was going to.
Why even introduce it?
it? I thought they were going to put down your science base on. For me, I was going to put down my science base on the first one. So, hi, we're here from the Milky Way. We're not here to take over. We're not some military superpower here to usurp your galaxy, even though there's only one sentient species in the fucking galaxy compared to 6 in the Milky Way. And where are the fucking people? And anyway, I'm skipping forward. But then you get to the second planet, and there's nothing.
Argument.
You get to the third planet, and there's nothing.
The argument could be made that
I thought you would end up with this situation where you end up, if you go military expansion throughout the whole thing, that would affect the story. But it was only the first location. Right. It had no real impact on what happened throughout the rest of the game.
Which leads me to believe that they wanted to put that in, and for whatever reason they never finished the idea. And this is actually going to get into why I think this game is trash for what it didn't do. And you're thinking about like, well, what is this game about? And I think it could have been like an awesome, like, basically giant Star Trek episode about colonization. Like, that's the Pathfinder's main job, and they like barely touch on some of that stuff. So yeah, Keith, what you're talking about, like the initial establishing whether it's a science or a military base is immediately abandoned and becomes meaningless. And I was thinking, well, like, how could they have fleshed this out a bit? And I started thinking about possible side quests. So I thought it should mean something like, you are the Pathfinder. It is your job. Your number one job is to get people off the arcs and onto these planets. That is your job. So you need to start making hard decisions. And because there's no Paragon, whatever it was called, Renegade system, this could have been an interesting
play on it.
Way to make hard decisions as the Pathfinder. And they never give you any hard decisions to make. And I thought that would have been the most interesting way of figuring out who you are as a character and what kind of Pathfinder you're going to be. And for example, I was thinking about a side quest like initially establishing a science or a military base has consequences when, like, for example, a colony of aliens won't negotiate with you because you've ruined your passive reputation by choosing more military bases and science bases earlier in the game. And now you have like one less planet to colonize because your reputation in the galaxy has been hurt because they see they're like a pacifistic colony of aliens, and they've heard you've been establishing military bases on all the other planets.
Unfortunately, there's only one real native species in the entire galaxy, which is
Yeah,
what
that's
the
also
fuck?
it's also a stupid thing. It's another dumb thing. Yeah,
Oh,
and then like
okay, they're being invaded by another external force, which is the cats, and there's no. Okay, their motives are unclear
Right.
to begin with, and you must uncover what their motives are. But what are your motives at the same time? It's like, Jesus Christ.
yeah, it's so annoying. But like going a little back into the science military outpost stuff. Like what about this? What about on one planet, the aliens immediately turn hostile, and you need a certain amount of military outposts around the galaxy before you can wage a war with them. Or if you have a certain amount of science outposts, you can change their mind without killing them. But maybe like wiping them out was a better.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting with the berkough, who were the militant arm of the oh Christ, I've forgotten the name of the native Andromeda
The
race.
Angara, yeah.
Angara. It would have been good if you
Angara.
could have said, if you could have built
Yeah.
like science units everywhere. The berkough would have been less problematic, or they would have just been
Sure.
a difficulty on one planet or something. They missed the trick on the kind of dynamic storytelling stuff.
And this that could have also tied into like making things easier for you in the game. For example, like the planet scanning stuff. It's like the most useless time wasting thing in the entire galaxy. It's mostly loading screens, and I've actually been to star systems where I've scanned every planet and there's been nothing there. So
Yeah,
well, yeah, you get a
might
meter.
have gone back after a side quest somewhere
Fuck
else,
that.
You
and
still
then
get
found that there
100%
was
though.
something there that you missed the first round. And that's something else that pisses me off about it, is you could end up on one planet, complete a side quest, but to complete the side quest you have to leave the planet, but then you need to go back down to the planet to continue the main story missions because you've got no other available side quests. Why the hell do I need to leave to then return? And
Right. So what if like there was an incentive to establishing science outposts? So like how about if you had chosen more science outposts, you could send them to various places in the galaxy, similar to like the strike missions. But what was the point of that shit anyway? So
they got me a trophy.
So think about that. Like so if you establish science
The
outposts,
strike missions are bullshit.
maybe to go to star systems where it's not necessary for the Pathfinder to go, so you can scan and collect resources. Like that's not the fucking Pathfinder's job. It's like instead of making
Upgrades
that like a completely menu based like waste of time, it's like, oh no, if you establish science outposts, they can go scan stuff for you and bring the stuff back. The Pathfinder doesn't need to be doing that shit. Like, but so there's no incentive, whether it's military or science. They like never built that out, and they totally could have connected that stuff where it affected the way that the aliens treated you if you moved to like by your third planet. You know, your reputation could have been more science based or military based, and that affected how you were able to negotiate with the indigenous species, you know, of said planet. But none of that stuff worked out.
They definitely.
I'm conscious we've talked over Matt.
Yeah,
quite a
sorry.
lot.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, no, it's fine. I was gonna say they definitely try to play that up when because I remember the first time that I got to that point in Andromeda, I was like, oh my god, this is a serious decision. You know, yeah, the fact that it never actually amounts to anything is kind of sucks.
It's a massive missed opportunity.
Yeah, because I went with science. You know, one of the things that I love about Mass Effect is the fact that it's kind of like a nice melding of Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yeah.
The way that they've gone about it, and I was like, well, I gotta go with science because I'm Federation, even though I tend to play a renegade character.
Okay. But yeah, like you start thinking about it, it's like, well, wait a minute. This is okay. I am the Pathfinder. My job is to find a home for these people. Like, well, that could also be like, well, you need to protect your people then, military base. It's like, no, I need to
Right.
establish a precedent of how I'm going to be viewed how we as a outsiders are going to be viewed. So science is the best. So yeah, in the beginning you're like, okay, there's something going on here, and then they just immediately throw it in the garbage.
I think what happened. I think what happened was the fact that they only got the 2 additional races into the game. You know, like I'm sure that the scope was much larger, and this game probably would have taken 10 or 15 years to make if they had been able to actually develop it the way that it should have been. But the fact
I want to
that
get onto some of the problems that they've had in a bit. Yeah.
to the development of the game,
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually disappointing. Like I would have been perfectly happy if they had cut down the number of Milky Way races to, you know, maybe just like Krogans, Turians, and Saurians.
Whatever, take them all out. Who gives a shit? Like we've told
I
that
don't even
story.
think
Like
they
they
did.
need to be
If
there
they
to
if
colonize.
they fleshed out the backstory a bit more and said, this is between Mass Effect 1 and 2, and this project is being funded by Cerberus, and the Elusive Man is behind this, and this is a human-only project to save the human race from extinction. If Shepard doesn't succeed in killing the Reapers or possessing them or whatever you wanted to do in Mass Effect 3, that would have made total sense. Then you could have had a more interesting story in Andromeda. You could have had more different races, species of alien to encounter. But it was almost as if there's, we can't get rid of the Turians, we can't get rid of them. But then as soon as you get off your ship, you're encountered with raiders who are who must be from the Arks. So, but these people have been vetted to see whether they should be going.
Yeah.
So I'm
like,
confused as to why immediately when they've reached another galaxy, they've suddenly turned into fucking raiders.
Well, it's only been a year too.
Yeah.
So the time frame between when you reach the Nexus and when the Nexus and the other arcs have been there has only been a year. So in a year's time, everybody's gone insane, apparently.
Yeah, and this is where I think this game is like absolute trash, because it missed an opportunity to tell a unique story in the Mass Effect world. And in the beginning of the game, they really build up this idea of like, mission number 1 is to find homes for these people. We are tasked with colonizing this new galaxy, and you know, it's like like I said, it's like a Star Trek episode. Like this game is really, in the beginning, it builds up the idea of like, you know, imagine having to travel to you know, possible colonizable planets to find interesting stories and negotiating with like a vast array of alien species, and then that's where the hard decisions come into play of how you're going to play as the Pathfinder. And then when you get to that opening scene where your ship kind of explodes and your crew is kind of scattered about on that like planet that's like, I don't know, there's like a giant thunderstorm going on.
Habitat 7.
Habitat 7, there you go. So it's like they build up this idea of like, yeah, like this is about colonizing these planets, putting these people into habitable areas, and like you're going to be negotiating and stuff. Your job is not, protocol number 1 is like to be peaceful, not to fight. And it's like, okay,
or you can kill everyone in sight and just take over.
So they build that up when you're on the Nexus and immediately throw it out the fucking window when the first race you come across is the Ket, and there's 2 Ket soldiers, and one of the crew is leaning up against, you know.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
You even put your hands up in the beginning. You put your hands up. You can take your gun out, but there is no choice. You have to fight them. So they immediately fucking threw that whole possible premise out the window when you had to shoot.
I don't mind that so much. I don't mind that there is a kind of blatant antagonistic race.
That's fine, but then there's nothing else.
But then there's nothing else to balance it out.
And there's like there's 2 intelligent civilized species in the entire galaxy, and instead of like going to
they do try to humanize the Ket a little bit though.
Well, yeah, they're basically like genetically modified.
One of them, which is
because I mean,
it seems like all of the rest of it, there's one. Oh God, I've forgotten what his title is. but there's one cat, and then the rest of them seem kind of totally subservient.
The Archon?
The Archon. There is no nuance. The Archon is actually quite a good villain.
What is he? What is his ultimate goal, though? I just like just to
turn everyone into cat. To exalt.
What is this? The fucking Borg? Like,
well, basically, yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
They've just ripped the idea off of the Borg. But he, as a villain, the Archon is actually quite good because you until late in the game you don't know what their motives are. But if you what Evan was talking about is that the rest of the cat are just totally subservient. The thing that really bugged me.
It even says it in data logs. It's like they shoot first and ask questions later. They're not interested in even talking.
Which doesn't make sense if you're trying to exalt an entire species of people. Surely you will be capturing them, not.
Oh right, they're not. Yeah.
It kind of makes sense though. If you're genetically modifying the people that you're bringing into the race,
become ultimate super soldiers, like their job is to shoot.
Like Disposable Heroes by Metallica.
Yeah.
But then the thing about that is like why did you choose that? Like they had an open book to write ideas, and they like that's what they went for, and I just think it's like fuck the cat. Like I like it's kind of like religious. It's like a semi-religious, almost like this cult type aspects to them.
Well, we're getting into the realms of some of the problems that they had with the production of the game, and the writing was.
You know how many times a writer says, "Let's do this." Let's do this.
And I put in the notes one that they had to Casey Hudson left BioWare, and they had to call him back. He'd taken a job at Microsoft, and BioWare had to phone him up.
Are you talking about Hudson or Capersian?
Hudson.
Okay.
So Casey Hudson had taken a job at Microsoft, and they had to call him back and said, "Casey, could you mind coming back and dealing with this fucking garbage file that we've got?" And there was they went through. Matt put in the note the article that references this. I think they went through about 4 pretty much total rewrites of the story, and they called Drew Karpyshyn, or I'd say Karpyshyn, you say.
I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name.
Who'd written the first 3 games and the first 3 prequel novels back in, and said, "Could you consult on this and give us some advice on where to take it?" So
I find that pretty fucking funny because the first trilogy is like the main protagonist. Something happens and their psyche gets fused with something that's allows them to control the ancient alien technology MacGuffin. And then in Andromeda, the main character, something happens and their psyche gets fused with something that allows them to control the ancient alien technology MacGuffin. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
You couldn't think of anything else.
Some other stuff
That's what you came up with.
That.
That's what you came up with. That is comical. That is comical.
How many zeros are on that track?
From being exposed to radiation.
Here you go.
I think the main thing.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't read
but it's like the
prequel novels, I'd suggest reading them because they do flesh out a lot around the Mass Effect universe. And no. This is from. So Captain Anderson.
It's just everything about ancient alien technology.
The first human to be accepted into the first human to be possibly accepted into the Spectre, and not initiative, but you know what I mean. But he gets thrown out, and it's Captain Anderson's story. It's really fleshed out and takes you right up to the start of the original Mass Effect game. Whereas you can tell from my reading of those 3 books and the playing of those 3 games that there is consistency in writing, there's consistency in narrative, there's consistency in how the side characters play out with the main protagonist. There's consistency in how the the main antagonist actually antagonizes the protagonist, and that sounds really fucking punsy, but I'm really sorry, but I can't think of a better way to phrase it. Whereas Mass Effect Andromeda, it just seems like there isn't that same kind of thought through narrative process.
No, it would have been far more interesting if it had placed you in the position similar to the way that like Spec Ops: The Line does, and that you're the invader, you're the imperialist, and then there should have been a moment in the game where that's all turned on its head, and it's like, holy shit, yeah, we really are the imperialists here.
That would have been great.
I think
it's a huge missed
yeah,
opportunity.
I think that's
this
a
could have
missed
tied in with
opportunity.
just the overarching story
I'm
of
conscious we're
colonization.
shitting on this quite a lot. Do we actually have anything good to say?
I think we kind of did. System's okay.
I like the combat system.
That's some of the.
Try not to sound too excited, Evan.
Right?
Yeah.
I really like the little stories that happen, like the interpersonal stuff.
I think
the interpersonal stuff between you and your
Jaal's a good character.
Really good.
I like him a lot.
I love the fact that you can be Captain Kirk and you can bang everybody.
I'm actually
on the ship. Like that's something. Yeah, that's something that I think was lost on the old games. Is like when you get into romance options in the old game, it's like you have to pick and choose, and it's a whole nother playthrough.
I didn't bang anyone in this game. It takes too
options,
long.
But
I didn't know how to fuck it. I didn't know how to fuck anyone.
Did you? I bang.
In my mind,
my rider had sex in an escape pod.
My rider sounds like a condom brand.
I love my rider. And my rider. Also had sex
it's even worse
in
than that voice,
my Galaxy View. Ride my Galaxy. But
those are the big boys.
Yeah.
The galaxies. It's
something
like
I really like. There were some quite good set piece moments in the game, and I'm assuming they're the stuff that they really focused on that didn't get thrown out. So things like when you do make your first choice about what your first base wants to be, and you get that big landing sequence, and all those pods get launched off from the main ship. And I don't know if how much of the side questing you did, but on the first planet on Eos, if you do the side quest, investigate the seismic activity, you get one of those giant floating and terraforming space snakes, metallic things, just spew out of the ground. And I was just sitting there, just going, and I was just. Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, one of the remnant.
No, that's. They have one of those things on Eos. One of the giant
on the first remnant. One, if there's a side mission called Investigate the Seismic
I only saw it on
activity.
the planet with the Krogan on it.
If you do that, that's where the first one is. And I just went crazy on the first planet and tried to 100% complete everything, and I found it. And I got the.
You burn yourself
I got the
out.
Gold trophy for 100%.
Which is
that is
insane.
all of the I 100%ed 2 of the 5 planets. Like I tried to do my due diligence.
I've got a trophy that Evan hasn't. Fuck you! Yay!
Good stuff. I liked. I think the side quests in this game are fucking absolutely awful for several reasons. But starting this conversation about side quests, I did like the Krogan side quest where you go to that desert planet and there's kind of a scuffle at the top, and they're trying to figure out who's, there's gonna be some sort of coup d'etat, or there's a usurper and you get to side with one or the other. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And that comes back around as well at the end of the game about who do you want to be in charge of the Andromeda Galaxy when you form a kind of
Yeah, it's like big decisions as the
utilitarian
Pathfinder.
government.
Like that's the type of stuff I wanted to see more of, and most of the side quests were like you saw. One thing that I hate about games, if you can immediately see the skeleton of the game, how quickly you can see that. It's like you get to the planet,
Right.
it's like, oh, okay, there's like the Nexus IKEA-esque like prefab buildings, there's the Ket buildings, and then there's like some other stuff. And so on every map, they just kind of plop those things around, and it's like every
They don't plop them around. You drive up in the Nomad and suddenly they just pop out in front of you.
Oh, that's also true. Yeah, it's fucking. I've actually gone somewhere, gotten out of my of the Nomad, and gone up to it, and then I've seen enemies like just like populate it in front of me, and they start shooting. But it's like you go to these prefab locations and you kill whoever's there, whether it be raiders or Ket or whatever, and then every mission is this. Every side quest takes place in these locations. It's like find the body in the location and scan it, and that'll go back to some sort of side quest, or find a data pad, collect 5 of those. Now back in your Nomad, and then find like the next random location, and it's one of those handful of side quests. But it's the same thing. There's nothing unique about any of those specific locations. They just thought of 5 different types of side quests, wrote stories for them, but the way that you progress in them is by scanning 5 bodies or collecting 5 data pads, or you know what I mean. It's just like none of the side quest stories are interesting.
There are some things that lead you into some interesting places, but it takes some effort to get there, and that's the thing that pisses me off. So you've got the final payoff for one side quest that I spent far too long wandering around. What's the toxic element of the planet? That's on the Krogan bit where you go down in the lift, and there's the toxic part of it, and you've got to cleanse the toxic area. Anyway, who gives a shit?
Whatever. Insert like this planet's too hot. This planet's too cold. This fucking porridge is just right. It's like it's the same thing across all of them. It's just like poison planet, ice planet, fire planet. But yeah, it's like
the
lazy.
payoff for me after spending probably at least 2.5 hours searching for this freaking one outpost and talking to 2 people was a subtle nod to DLC from the second game around controlling the Geth. That's my payoff. Are you kidding me? Can I kill you now?
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't even.
That's garbage.
So you were sent here by Cerberus to continue the experiment into controlling AI, and I'm pretty sure in at least one of my playthroughs of Mass Effect 2, I killed everyone for doing that, and I can't even draw my weapon right now. Okay.
You can't. Even though there's a dedicated button to do so.
Right.
I just like, yeah, I remember I went to a side quest on the same planet, the desert planet with the Krogan. You find out like right when I touched down, I just got in the Nomad and I drove around, and then I found this location where like they're talking about this person like infiltrate her room to find a data pad and then to find the location of this cave. And you find out the planet has a shit ton of water. She's hoarding it all for her people and not for anyone else. And the funny thing is you're supposed to meet here the second you touch down on the planet. So this person that they're talking about, like I didn't know who she was, and so I find the water and she shows up, and there's this dialogue where I'm like, do I agree to keep the water a secret so she can hoard it, or tell her no, the water should be for everyone? It's like, fuck her, I don't know her, I never even talked to her yet. But that's what happens when you have an open world where they don't direct you towards specific people before setting you out into the bigger open area. So it's like she was totally meaningless to me because I hadn't talked to her before that, and apparently like there's a lot of dialogue if you actually meet her.
Before we allow Matt to speak again,
Only before. Continue.
Only before. I just want to throw something out there again, which is Liam Costa is a shitty character. He's a prick. He's quite possibly one of the most annoying character in any BioWare game I've ever played. I said this last time I was on the show. I'm going to say it again.
I wish I knew the depths of his prickiness, because
he's pretty shitty.
But his side mission is quite possibly one of the best ones in the game. It's just
I didn't even bother to do his side mission. I walked in on him and Gerald
doing push-ups or something.
They're like half naked. And I was like, all right, I'm done. Yeah. they're like building weapons and they're like half naked. I'm like, okay. Overlord.
Yeah,
Overlord is the DLC.
People slated that. I quite enjoyed it.
I liked it too. I remember when I played 2, I had the I had the PS2 version, so it came with all the DLC, or the PS3 version came with all the DLC, and I accidentally got involved in that, and I was like, oh my god, I can't escape now. Like I'm in this DLC, I got to finish it, you know. But
yeah, go ahead, Matt. Whatever.
Everything we say.
I don't know what else I was going to add to your conversation. I mean, you guys pretty much covered.
Okay, let's move into the characters, side characters. Everyone but Jal is like totally unmemorable. And then I think back to like, man, do you remember fucking Mass Effect 2? Like, just the way that game starts out. You're dead and you're brought back to life by this corporation, and it's like, all right, we believe you. Now it's your time as Shepard. Like, you've earned your stripes. You got to go around the galaxy and kind of collect a ragtag team of people to get the fucking job done. And so you start going to these places and going to these interesting stories to recruit people into your party. Do you remember Garrus? What a fucking awesome introduction to a character.
Yeah,
it's like one of the most memorable ones ever. Like, you go to that planet.
You didn't know that it was going to be him either.
No, you didn't. You're just like, some dude has been like walled up in this building.
Crazy sniper, yeah.
You know, it's like it's sniper in the tower who is able to take out 100 troops and no one can get to him type of thing. It's like he's running out of resources, he's weakened, but this giant team of mercenaries can't get close to this guy because he's a fucking badass.
Not only that, you're already working for Cerberus, so you're already kind of working for the bad guys, depending on your perspective. Mm-hmm. And then you've got to work with these dirty mercenaries as, you know, a Cerberus agent.
Yeah. Like, how interesting was all it's, and they build up this guy that you don't know who he is, and you just hear these stories about him. It's just like the introduction to the character before you even see him. You know he's a good sniper. You know he's a badass. He's been holding off an entire, you know, like a small army for days on end. And then when you meet him, and then the mercenaries turn on you and you get into the scuffle, and it's like, hey, do you want to be part of my team? It's like, that is a character introduction. That is an awesome character introduction. And you don't get any of that in this game.
Can I throw something in? Is it, even the kind of non-playable characters, where is the aria?
Where's Joker? Where's the, you know? Who cares about the two fucking people on your show? I never even talked to them.
Well, all right. Did you guys both do the quest where you're on the Tempest and you have to find out why it's like so many kilograms heavier?
Yeah, I've done all of that.
I didn't do any Tempest
some of it is. I know where Matt's going with this, and it really is. If you want to dive deep into the kind of backstory about where this is going and the conflict between the Solarians and the Krogan, there is stuff in there that you get from talking to the pilot that is really interesting. But you've got to go digging for it.
It's crumbs. But yeah.
So what? Okay, so Matt, I'm done playing this game. So like, what happens with that side quest?
Well, basically, you just have to you go through and you scan different areas of the ship, and then you discover the person that built the ship had left a message for whoever makes it to the Andromeda galaxy, basically.
Yeah, that's the payoff. So basically, the reaction that you've got now, putting your head in your hands and thinking, is there something more important going on? Is there a fly in the room? Yeah, that's the payoff.
Can I just say, as a side note, if your game is really like text heavy about lore, you need to be able to play those audio files while you're running around the world.
Oh, this was all done in speech.
Like,
this was all.
no, yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
total, not even tangentially related. Total side note. When you have so much shit going on, and like, I'm playing a fucking video game. I don't want to sit in a menu and like slowly read who the Ket are, who is this person, what's on this planet. Like, I should be able to play that audio file like in Metal Gear Solid 5 and just because you spend so much time in the Nomad doing nothing but traversing like big areas of big expanses. It's like, why can't I choose an audio file and just put play and just listen to that shit? I would listen to it. I would listen to all of it. But when you put it all text based, it's like I don't want to read a fucking book. Like, I want to play a video game, and you should give me the option to do that. And BioShock did that. Metal Gear Solid 5 did that. They gave you exposition while you were in those areas where there wasn't necessarily a lot going on. I just wish they would have done that, because there's some interesting information in some of those menus.
Codex entries.
Yeah. It's like inside the codex entries, and I wish they would have done something with that.
Can I ask you guys a kind of fundamental question, which is, would you ever recommend this game to someone?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I would.
Who would that be?
You'd have to be a diehard Mass Effect fan who is willing to forgive it for the obvious.
Would they have not played it already? That's the bit.
Might not have.
That's the bit that gets me, is because I am that person, and if I'd left it until now, I think I would have just left it. If I hadn't been kind of diving in early and left it as long as you have, Matt, I don't think I would have done it.
I mean, I keep going back to it. Like, I'll finish the game eventually, I think. I don't know. I just really don't care that much about the Cat of the Archon or any of the overarching, like, pressing plot. Like, none of that shit really matters to me. And I think that's the biggest problem that I find with the game, because I love the little morsels, and I love the character interaction, and I love the stuff. The combat is good, The overall plot, though, and the fact that there's only 2 races in the
it does me as well.
Galaxy, or the Helios cluster, that bothers me, and it's and that's the only reason I haven't finished the game, because it's just not enough to push me to get.
There is a big twist, which I hope you like at the end. I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Is there?
Well,
I don't remember there being a big twist.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
I don't know.
I'll share it with you offline, but I don't want to spoil it for Matt. He's not there, and
Okay.
maybe when you finish it, you can tell me if it's a big twist or not.
Yeah. It's
all right.
One of these things where, like, you see the structure of the game. Like, you go to a new planet. There's just a bunch of side quests that are the same on every planet. Activate the 3 beacons to get to the main area, the main remnant temple, or whatever you want to call it, to push the button and make the air breathable. And it's in rinse and repeat for five planets, and then it's just like immediately you see the skeleton of the game instead of like being interested in the characters and all these other things. You're like, okay, yeah, go here. All right, checklist, check. It just becomes a big checklist, and that's not. Once you start seeing the bones, the skeleton of the game, it's just like it doesn't. You're just going through the motions at that point.
I'll throw out a side note, and then I hope you guys don't mind too much, but it's getting a bit late for me, so I want to wrap. But
sure.
Crafting, what the fuck?
Those menus are awful.
I mean, I got into it a little bit, but I started to ignore it because it didn't really affect the gameplay at all. I never felt like I got any benefit out of crafting new armor or weapons.
But the crafting links back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of the lore. The N7 armor has boost your biotic powers, but the N7s were all soldiers and not biotic. So it's another thing that undermines the lore of the story. And it's just like,
No, see, I totally
doing?
missed that because I didn't even bother. I was like, what do I need to craft N7 armor? I'm not
I
gonna get it,
crafted.
so I don't really give a shit.
Go ahead, man.
And like the stuff that I did craft didn't give me any tangible or noticeable benefit, right? Like, yeah, I mean, like I was like, I got the Matlock rifle because I was like, oh, I remember this from 2 and 3, and I really like this weapon. Doesn't feel any different than the Avenger.
Whereas
it feels the same.
From my point of view, because I bought the digital deluxe edition, I got all the high level gear straight away, so I never felt like I needed to craft anything.
That's a big no where
that's disappointing.
The pre-order stuff can kind of break the game progression a bit. I did a bit of crafting. I crafted remnant armor, and then I just tried to put all of my materials into there. But the whole crafting thing is like, too many things can be crafted, too many materials can be put are required, but too many materials can be put into everything. So once you craft something, it's like, oh, but I could have used those crafting materials to upgrade the Nomad. Oh shit! Now I got to go out and collect more materials, and it takes too many materials to upgrade.
Busy things.
Work. So it's like it takes too long.
Well, it would be different if you had more opportunities to collect those materials, but that stuff doesn't present itself. It's not like when you're just roaming around a planet, you can just like, oh, here's some of that, I'll pick that up, or here's some of this, I'll pick that up.
No, you don't. Really, so it just becomes kind of a chore. And the menu, like I have a huge problem with like overly complicated menus. Like the whole thing is to naturally draw the eye of the player to the most important information on the screen, and then from that bit of information, then lead their eye naturally on a path through, to whatever is important, in order 1 to 10. And in this this game, the way the menu is designed, it's got like the half circle like on left to right, and there's so much shit on the screen and none of it looks immediately important. Your eyes just don't know where to look, and it just becomes so overwhelming. It's just like needlessly busy menu systems, and that's one reason I didn't like doing the crafting, because the screen itself is just it was just a bit too much.
Right.
Can I ask you guys a question? Do you BioWare have said last week, might have been the week before, they're not finished with Mass Effect?
I hope not. I'd love to play another game.
I can't see it.
As much as they need to scrap. I don't know what plans they had for this possibly being a trilogy, but I think they need to fucking just start over. I think the well has been poisoned because they didn't introduce a meaningful story. Or I like Jal in terms of new characters, but the Ket could go. I don't know what they do, but I'll always give Mass Effect this is one strike against a great series, so I'm there for whatever else they do.
I'm wondering if there's place in the series, in the original trilogy timeline, for you to stick another game in there somewhere.
But there's enough lore and there's enough interesting characters and factions for you to do something. It's just they need.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if they just scaled it back, right? So like the original trilogy was this, the galaxy-ending event was imminent, and that was what you were stopping. If they just scaled it back and made it more of a personal, story, and maybe slotted it into somewhere in the original trilogy timeline, I think I would be for that. I would be interested in that.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. It's kind of like when we talked about Octopath Traveler. Like, not every JRPG has to be a story of like 8 chosen characters that are bound together in order to stop a cataclysmic event.
And they all have amnesia, and they're all teenagers.
Yeah, and then one, and then one of them actually remembers that they all know each other. He just forgot to tell them. It's the fucking worst like plot twist ever. Like I know you like Final Fantasy VIII, but I thought that was so dumb.
Let's go ahead and shit on 8.
Yeah. Okay.
So
No, go ahead. I was gonna throw you an idea for a side quest that I thought about.
all right.
So like I just got so annoyed that there's not really that many interesting side quests when it came down to like because you're a big Star.
Right, so
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
There is interesting side quests. They're just not. They don't require a lot of like interactivity.
Okay.
So story wise, they're interesting.
Okay. Yes.
But they're not. They're like, oh, go here, scan.
Does it include a lot of
button.
text reading? You know me, Matt. I can't focus. I'm not accessing fucking emails to find out what the fuck's going on. It's not happening.
Which there's a lot of good shit in the emails too, because like you get stuff from Jal and you get stuff from Korra and all the stuff from Korra that's like related to discovering the Asari arc.
That's the only reason I did Korra's side quest is because I wanted to hit all the arcs or at least try to find the lost arcs. But
right.
Okay, but like I just keep going back to like this game could have been like a series of Star Trek episodes where like you're exploring new planets and negotiating like because you know like in Star Trek they go to a new planet and they have to figure out like what's the culture about, who are these people, what's the problem, where do we fit into this, we're the outsiders, like we can't be mad at them for not trusting us, we have to earn their trust or complete a task to become their friends or solve their problems. Like each planet could have been that type of interesting thing, and they just didn't do anything with that. So I was thinking of one possible side quest that could be kind of like a Star Trek episode. So, for example, you go to a planet, and there's a colony there of humans, and they're going hungry because they're shit at foraging and hunting and gathering on this new planet, and so they start eating this kind of like very docile, let's call it like a domesticated alien horse. Okay. And then the aliens living there that you discover, they explain to you that for whatever like religious or ethical reasons, they don't eat that specific animal. But so you're trying to colonize this planet and your people are eating this animal, like for whatever reason, like you can't, that this is not good. We do not accept that you're eating this animal. Now as Pathfinder, like you're left with the choice to side with the aliens and stop the colony from surviving, or damaging your relationship with the aliens by siding with your own people, which can turn and hurt your chances of colonizing the planet in more meaningful numbers. It's like I wish they had stories like that on the planet.
You're just talking about British imperialism and Hinduism.
Sure. Whatever way you want to put it. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like
that's it. Well, yeah, but that's interesting stuff to explore, though.
Go ahead. But like, imagine if each planet you went to had its own alien race where you had to figure out all that shit and like be a negotiator, not necessarily like whipping your gun out and hiding behind chest-high walls to kill raiders and Ket in every fucking planet. Like, they could have taken this in a different direction where like you had to figure out what was going on, what's okay, what's the culture like, who are these aliens, what do they believe, what's ethical to them, like all that type of stuff.
Are either of you Star Trek Voyager fans?
Yeah.
You do like Voyager?
I never really watched it. I kind of like, I watched my mom watch Star Trek: The Next Generation when I was a kid. I actually haven't watched anything other than the first, just regular Star Trek. What do you call it? Sorry,
the original
obviously
series,
I've been.
Why do we even talk to you?
Yeah, regular. Yeah, you can tell I'm a fan. I've only watched regular Star Wars and then the Patrick Stewart Star Wars. Those are and I just said Star Wars instead of Star Trek. Please continue, Matt. Please continue.
All right. So no, I think they could have gone more the Voyager route where, some of the stuff that you could have done in Mass Effect Andromeda would have been more geared towards like space anomalies and things. Like they kind of touched on it with the Scourge, but they didn't really do anything with it.
Well, they didn't allude to it, but it was something to do with the cat, but they weren't in.
Yeah, the cat were the one that
is it alive?
So they didn't say why or how.
Space or whatever.
No, it's some kind of phenomena.
No, it's
So
Something
Yeah.
like a phenomenon.
is that
Something like a phenomenon.
a song?
LL Cool J.
it is a song. I'm trying to remember the
Okay.
name of it though.
Ladies Love Cool James.
Oh, okay.
James? J?
Alright.
Whatever.
Ladies
so
love a
you're
Cool
saying
J.
it
You
could have
don't
been
know
more.
ladies love her.
Yeah.
I'm just more interested in Patrick
Yeah.
Stewart and Star Wars.
Yeah. The new
Sir
movie.
Patrick
Just
Stewart.
called like it's Solo. You just call it Stewart. It's got the. It's just the yellow like Star Wars and then Stewart in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, so we should probably wrap it
I
up
mean-
if Keith's got to get to bed.
Last thing from me is kind of what happens to this franchise if the Anthem isn't a success, and what does
Anthem
success
becomes
mean for
something.
Anthem? Only Android Wilson will be able to tell us that, or Patrick Soderling, if it doesn't make I don't know $400 billion.
Right. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what they do with the story elements because that's the one thing that they've touched on that they haven't really shown us.
Yeah, I hope there's lore. That I mean, of course they're going to build a world with lore, but I hope it's rich enough and it's not just like the bare minimum, so they can get to all the games of service stuff in it. Like I don't know. I trust them, but I don't know because it's a new structure for a game for them.
I'm supremely worried for BioWare. I'm seriously concerned that if the hype that Anthem got at E3 suddenly turns into actually this is a bit shit and the revenues start falling through the floor, they just become another burning developer on the heap outside the back of EA's offices.
Okay, so as long as they don't go down the loot box hell that plagues Battlefront 2, and they don't focus on it as heavily as Destiny has with like the different types of weapons and things, and if there's enough story there to where like you can play it as a solo player and get enjoyment out of it and complete quests and things, then it'll probably be a good game.
Yeah, the worrying thing for me is having followed Anthem on Sifted. There was an interview with one of the major publications, and the guy who's the main game director on Anthem said, "So, what were you doing before being here on Anthem?" It's like, "Oh, I was directing multiplayer on Mass Effect Andromeda." I was, oh fuck.
No.
I actually like the multiplayer mode in Andromeda. I liked it in 3 too. And when I first got Andromeda, I actually dumped more hours into the multiplayer than I did the single player story. Like cuz I got into the story, and I was like, whatever, but I like the mechanics. I like the way that the shooting feels and like the maneuverability and stuff of your character. And so I put a good at least 10 or 20 hours into the multiplayer.
All right.
Are we all exhausted?
Final comment. Yeah, I'm exhausted. Final comment. The animation, the stupid like weird creepy Spider-Man animation, when you climb on a ledge and pull yourself up, it looks terrible. Like, I have no idea who made that animation. It fucking sucks. You look like such an idiot. The running animations, but you look like you're about to take a shit.
Bad too.
Yeah, it's whatever. And also, I will say the jetpack boost is slightly too short. I wish it was a bit longer. I know you can hover after you do it, but it's just I don't know. It's like doing a double jump, but then dropping like a stone afterwards or something. And just something about it that they just didn't quite tweak right.
There's a few times that I've eaten it on ditches or endless pits because I couldn't.
Like I like the idea, but they just needed to tweak it a bit. But anyways,
some of the hit detection, the catch detection on that. So you can run up to something and press jump, and suddenly you're kind of awkwardly straddle over this round object. But then you do a jump, a dash, and you think you're going to grab onto this perfectly rectangular surface, and you just and then
you know what else is really dumb? Is there any indigenous life that doesn't want to kill you? Like, there can't be like a fucking like gecko or like just a bird. Like, everything that's
and they're
on
all
the planet,
same.
they immediately
want to
kill you.
What
doesn't
the
make
fuck
any
is
sense.
going on? All of the things that want to kill you is exactly the same on every single planet.
It doesn't make any sense. Because they had one model for each creature, and they just had sliders. Like, okay, this guy's the toxic planet. This guy's fucking Slash Man. This is Gemini Man. Like, whatever. All right, that's gonna do it for us today at Podcast Reload.
The world's most rubbish superheroes. Slash Man.
Yeah, Slash Man.
He really needs to take a piss.
That's pretty good, actually. Imagine that. All right. Coming up to the end of the show, if you want to join us on the show, you can reach us at podcastreload@gmail.com, at podcast_reload on Twitter, at the stand user on sifted.net, Giant Bomb Twitter, and Filmstar Revenge on PSN. That's my handle. Sorry, I can't change my name. Ask Shuhei Yoshida. All right, Keith, where can people find you? Goodbyes, Twitter handles, thank yous, any plugs?
I am Keith_McWomble on Twitter. I'm McWomble on Sifted. And the only thing I'd like to mention is the factoid on the today's notes, which is Keith is awesome. True facts. I don't know who wrote that.
Oh, wow.
That's true.
It was not me. It was not me. How many licks does it take? The world will never know. All right, Matt, what about yourself? Plugs, Twitter handles, closing thoughts.
Yeah, I'm at berkough on pretty much everything. Twitter, PSN, Sifted. I don't really have too many closing comments. I mean, we kind of touched on everything that I wanted to talk about. I do have some videos in the pipeline, hopefully, to upload to YouTube, so you can always check those out.
Are these berkough drunk plays?
Yeah, just me getting trashed and playing video games.
Sounds solid.
I have a video of me playing Race the Sun.
Oh, I played the game for a bit.
After a full 12-pack and like 3 glasses of gin.
Oh my gosh. Sounds great.
So, I'm reluctant to actually upload it. It's pretty horrible. But it might be entertaining for some people.
Yeah, that's the point. You know, it's like drunk history, right?
Right.
That's why it's funny. The more alcohol, the better. All right. It's one of those things like you have all these ideas in your head and you just can't necessarily get everything out, but I think we've at least have some closure on this game. I do think a final Mass Effect or another Mass Effect game will come out at some point. They're not just going to completely throw the series in the garbage. Like, it still has some. The name is still there. They can do something with that.
Yeah, but like Keith said, if Anthem doesn't do $400 billion, EA may just shutter BioWare, and we may never experience another game.
That's true.
Here's hoping that Anthem actually does well, and we get another Mass Effect.
Well, just remake them.
You know what? Maybe that's the safer bet.
EA doesn't do that though.
Yeah, they don't do that.
So much. It's opposed to hiving off the studios as opposed to doing. You can go and work on Need for Speed Loot Crate Edition. Get them working on remaking Mass Effect. For fuck's sake.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for episode 56 of Podcast Reload. Thanks for tuning in, and may all your wildest dreams come true. Goodbye. This is Captain Picard of the Star Wars Enterprise signing off. Patrick Stewart.